Hi everyone, it's Frank here, and I hope that you are having a wonderful weekend. It is getting near the end of February. Hope you're having a wonderful month, a wonderful year as well. I wanted to take the time to share with you just a few thoughts that I've been having this weekend so far about the power of futures thinking and strategic foresight for strategy, for innovation, for organizational development, and for change management, both at the business and at the societal level. So there are three data points I want to share with you that make up a larger idea that I have been mulling all day long. So the first is there's a video circulating across the internet today of Senator Dianne Feinstein and a group of young adults and young individuals, of children as well, showed up to her office yesterday in Washington, D.C. from the Sunrise Movement. If you're not familiar, the Sunrise Movement is an organization that is catalyzing the youth of our nation to speak about the need for transformative policy around climate change and global warming. As you know, scientists and many others are now saying that we have anywhere from 10 to 15 years to really make an impactful transformative change in terms of policy and actions around climate change, or else we're going to be in a lot of trouble. We're already headed in that direction. We need some really transformative change. And so the group was there to encourage Senator Feinstein to vote in the upcoming weeks, or maybe even the next week, for the Green New Deal that has been initiated by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others in the Congress. Senator Feinstein chose for about 3 minutes. Not all of the video was terrible if you watched the long version, but there were about 3 solid minutes where she really spoke to these young Americans in a very looking down on them in a very disparaging way. And she told them, you didn't vote for me, and I've been doing this longer than you, and if you want to enact change, then when you grow up, become a senator yourself. And in some ways, you have to sympathize with Senator Feinstein here, because she's been doing this for 30 years. And she knows how to play the game. And there is value to playing the game. However, in an environment where we need transformative and drastic change, playing the game is not going to get it done. We're not going to enact change that we need at the level that we need it, in the way that we need it, in the timing that we need it, doing the same old thing. It's not going to work. So the second data point that I want to point out is I actually was doing a foresight training in the recent weeks. And in the room was an individual that is brilliant and a real expert in several relatively new, when I say that I mean over the last 20 years or so, methods that are helping organizations to think more transformatively, more constructively, more design-oriented, if you would, about how to enact real change in their organizations and think of things that they weren't thinking of before. However, these methods, though now popular within organizations, are fraught with reductionism, closed systems thinking, linear thinking, and incrementalism. It depends on how you use them in some ways, but both of these methods that I'm thinking of, the two that I'm really thinking of, in recent years, many inside and outside the foresight community are taking futures tools and foresight tools and putting them on top of them or embedding them within these methods to make those methods of actual value. Because again, in an environment where we need transformative change and transformative thinking and futures thinking, these methods, though beyond the strategic planning or the old traditional methods that definitely were linear and definitely are based on closed systems, are still very much reductionist and closed systems themselves, because they really don't look in the way that futures thinking does to those external disruptors, transformations, discontinuities, et cetera, that we really need to be paying attention today within our fields and society and in government, if we're really going to understand what's really emerging and the change that really needs to take place to make a difference to create a better future. We cannot be reductive, and we cannot be incremental or iterative or linear in our approaches today. It's just not going to work. So this individual seemed to like the training, I think, but you could tell over and over, kept trying to relate what we were teaching in terms of foresight and futures thinking to these tools. Oh, so this is another form of these tools? No, not really. Although, as I said, many are meeting themselves where they are or their organization where they are by taking futures thinking and integrating with these tools and at least helping people to get over the hump. What hump is that? Well, you've all seen the bell curve, right? Of course you have. And at one end, you have a small amount of change or people or thinking or whatever the case might be that the bell curve is grading, right? There's a few people that made it A and a few people that made it F. And in the middle is, where everybody made their B's and C's, right? Or in terms of thinking, we could say at one end of the bell curve, there's a smaller group of people who are like, I will never change the way I think about anything no matter what. And at the other end of the bell curve, you've got people who are like, I'm looking to always change and always improve. I'm probably wrong about a lot of things I think, and I want to keep learning and learning and learning. And then in the middle is where you've got the majority of people in the world who are open to learning, but are very much in favor of things staying the way they had seen them work in the past. I think the majority of us are probably there at some point of our life or in some areas of our life, maybe constantly there. This is that place where we have to be aware that to get people to think in a more constructive way about the future, to really include everyone in the future, to democratize the future, we're going to have to move that middle of the bell curve, right? And to do that, we have to meet people where they are. We have to move them. However, there's a dilemma. When we think about these reductionist approaches, when we think about our traditional approaches, when we think about the transformative change that's needed, quickly needed to be able to move the needle in a way that doesn't keep us from destroying or falling apart or collapsing, we need quick change. We don't need that middle of the bell curve incremental kind of change. So there's a dilemma. The third data point that I want to bring up is a great article that I read yesterday, where the author is arguing about quantum computing and saying that a lot of the popular articles that you read today about quantum computing, and I'm sure most of you are aware of quantum computing to some degree, but if you're not, quantum computing is not based on traditional computing models. It is really based on quantum physics or quantum thinking, where in traditional computing models, a 1 or a 0 represent our bits of data and the way the computing works, and we can only have a piece of information in one place at one time. If we build bigger computers, we can store more information, we can do more, but we still only can have pieces of information in one place at one time. In quantum computing, we can have ones be zeros and zeros be ones, and therefore we can have pieces of information in multiple places at one time, or multiple data points standing for multiple pieces of information at one time. That is radical. And so the author of the article was saying, hey, stop saying that quantum computing is simply a faster version of traditional computing. It's not about speed. It's about the change of nature. Quantum computing is going to help us solve problems we don't even know exist yet, help us define possibilities we don't even know exist yet. We're in a quantum world today. This young group that showed up to Senator Feinstein's office, they have quantum thinking. Senator Feinstein, traditional computing thinking. Most of us are, I'm not saying she's guilty alone, I'm guilty of it, we all are. Whatever we grow up with, or the world we're used to, that's sort of our traditional world. And we aren't aware of the change that's coming or the change that's needed or necessary to really, or the things that are needed to really either combat that change or make that change happen to create a new world. And so those 3 data points together, I think you can see how they relate. They're different, but they all point to the fact that futures thinking really is a new mindset. Yes, it's a field, it's a discipline, it's methodology, it's about strategy, it's about innovation, and all of these things, organizational development, talent development, and on and on. And yet, at its core, it represents a new way of thinking, a new philosophy, a new mental model that's needed in the world today. So that's why some of these other methods and methodologies and tools, and as much as we might be enamored with them, it's not about the tools, it's not about the methodologies, especially if they're reductive or linear or incremental. It's about a new way of thinking, and a new way of thinking is going to require a new way of measuring futures thinking or foresight. I hope you enjoyed my insight here, and please comment. I want to hear what you think about this new mental model that's needed that we call future thinking, but can be categorized in a lot of different ways. Let me know what you think. Write in the comments below, and I'll talk to you again soon with some new thoughts. See you soon.